Fire and Blood is the 10th and final episode of the first season of the HBO medieval fantasy television series Game of Thrones. First aired on June 19, 2011, it was written by the show's creators and executive producers David Benioff and D. Weiss, and directed by Alan Taylor. The title of the episode is the motto of House Targaryen, and alludes to the aftermath of the previous episode's climactic events. The episode's action revolves around the Starks' reactions to Eddard Stark's execution. Sansa is taken hostage, Arya flees in disguise, Robb and Catelyn lead an army against the Lannisters, and Jon Snow struggles with his divided loyalty. Across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys must deal with the blood magic that has robbed her of her husband, her son and her army. The episode was initially viewed by 3 million viewers, a series high. It was well received by critics, who singled out the closing scene as a particularly strong way to end the first season. This episode was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Visual Effects for a Series. Plot: like previous episodes, Fire and Blood interweaves action in multiple separate locations in and around the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros. In the north, crippled Bran Stark has Osha carry him into the Stark family crypt beneath Winterfell. There, they encounter the youngest Stark brother, Rickon, and his direwolf Shaggy Dog. Both brothers felt drawn to the crypts after dreaming about the death of their father Ned. As they leave the crypt, Maester Luwin arrives to inform Bran of his father's execution. In the Riverlands, at the Stark army camp, Catelyn Stark counsels her son Robb, who grieves over his father's death. Robb vows revenge on the Lannisters, but Catelyn reminds him that they must first rescue his sisters Arya and Sansa. As the Starks consult their followers over whether to support Stannis or Renly Baratheon, both of whom have challenged Joffrey Baratheon's claim to the throne, Lord Greatjon Umber instead makes the case for northern independence. Theon Greyjoy and the others agree, proclaiming Robb the king in the north. Later, Catelyn interrogates the captive Jaime Lannister. He admits having pushed Bran out of the tower window, but refuses to tell why. At the Lannister army camp, Lord Tywin Lannister and his followers discuss their recent setbacks. Not only have they lost an important battle, and Jaime, to the Starks, along with his entire army, but both Baratheon brothers now also threaten them. Because his grandson's execution of Ned Stark destroyed any hope to sue for peace between the Starks and the Lannisters, Tywin orders his son Tyrion to go to King's Landing in his stead as Hand of the King in order to keep Joffrey under control. Against his father's orders, Tyrion brings the prostitute she with him to the capital. At King's Landing, offering the bard Marillion the choice between losing his fingers or his tongue, Joffrey sentences him to have his tongue cut out for composing a bawdy song about King Robert's death. Joffrey then leads Sansa onto a small wooden bridge at the top of a battlement and forces her to look upon the heads of her father and other Stark household members mounted on spikes. When Joffrey tells her his plans to add Robb's head to the collection, Sansa defies him by wishing to see his own head mounted there, for which Joffrey has one of his guards slap her. As Sansa contemplates pushing Joffrey off the catwalk, she is stopped by the Hound, Sandor Clegane, who wipes the blood off her mouth and tells her to obey Joffrey for her own safety. Meanwhile, Arya, after being rescued by Night's Watch recruiter Yoren, takes on the identity of the boy Eyre to escape with Yoren and his new recruits. After being picked on by 2 boys who plan to steal her sword, Arya threatens to kill them until Gendry, King Robert's bastard son who knows nothing of his parentage, chases them off. Arya and Gendry leave with Yoren's caravan, bound for the Wall. At the Wall, Jon attempts to desert the Night's Watch to join Robb and avenge his father, despite Sam's pleading. Pursued by Sam, Pipe and Green, Jon tells them to leave, but they convince Jon to return to the Watch by reciting their oath. The next morning, Lord Commander Jamormont lets Jon know that he is aware of his attempt at desertion. Nevertheless, he orders Jon to join him in an expedition beyond the Wall, intended to counter the threat of the Wheatlings and the White Walkers, and to find the missing First Ranger, Benjen Stark. Across the Narrow Sea, on waking up, Daenerys Targaryen learns from said Jorah Mormont that her unborn son died, his life used up in Miri's spell that saved the life of Khal Drogo. Drogo has fallen into a catatonic state, which leads most of his followers to abandon him. Daenerys accuses Miri of tricking her by not revealing the real price of her magic, and Miri reveals that she sought to avenge the destruction of her village and her people. Unable to bear her husband's condition, Daenerys smothers Drogo with a pillow, killing him. Daenerys and her remaining followers build a funeral pyre for Drogo. Daenerys places her dragon eggs atop the pyre, and she orders Ser Jorah to tie Miri to it. Having set fire to the pyre, Daenerys declares herself queen of a new Khalaza, freeing those who would remain with her. Despite Jorah's worries, Daenerys steps into the pyre herself. By daybreak, Jorah and the Khalaza are surprised to find her unharmed in the ashes, carrying 3 dragon hatchlings. Amazed, they bow to Daenerys as one of the hatchlings clambers onto her shoulder and lets out a screech. Production. The episode was written by the showrunners David Benioff and D. Weiss. Like the rest of the first season, it adapts the plot of A Game of Thrones, the first novel in the A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R. R. Martin. The episode covers the novel's chapters 66 to 73, that is, Arya v. Bran 7, Sansa 6, Daenerys 9, Tyrion 9, Jon 9, Catelyn 11 and Daenerys' exit. Also covers part of the second novel, A Clash of Kings, Arya and part of Catelyn 7. Scenes added for the adaptation include Catelyn and Robb receiving news of Eddard's death, the revelation of Cersei and Lancel Lannister's relationship, as well as interactions between Grand Maester Pycelle, the prostitute Ros, Varys and Littlefinger. The dragons featured in the episode's finale were implemented by Blue Bolt, UK, the lead VFX agency for the first season. VFX supervisor Angela Barson confirmed that the CGI dragons were among the most stressful effects, prompting sleepless nights. Commenting on the episode's climactic scene where the hatchling dragons are revealed, actress Emilia Clarke told VH1, "You see the relationship that Dany has with her eggs, and you see that grow and grow and grow and kind of the intuitive connection she has with them, you see that develop really beautifully." Clarke also hinted that she expected to get to play with some more dragons. In the second season, based on her conversations with book author and executive producer George R. R. Martin, VFX data wrangler Neil McEvoy has confirmed that dragon presence will be increasing in Season 2. In the scene where Joffrey forces Sansa to view the heads of Ned and his entourage on spikes, one of the prosthetic heads briefly seen in profile is that of former U.S. President George W. Bush. In their commentary on the DVD release of Season 1, David Benioff and D. Weiss explained that this was not meant as a political statement, but rather because the production used the prosthetic heads that happened to be at hand. Following media reports in June 2012, HBO apologized for this shot, which their statement described as unacceptable, disrespectful and in very bad taste. The statement also said that the shot would be edited for any future home video production and TV broadcasts. HBO removed the episode from digital download services until the scene was edited. In the edited scene, the head now bears no resemblance to Bush. Reception, airings and ratings. Fire and Blood was first aired on HBO in the US and Canada on June 19, 2011. The episode was the most watched episode of the season and was viewed by an estimated 3.041 million viewers and received a 1.4 share among adults between the ages of 18 and 49. This means that it was seen by 1.4% of all 49-year-olds at the time of the broadcast. With repeats, the episode brought in 3.9 million total viewers. Awards: Fire and Blood was nominated for, but did not win, the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Special Visual Effects for a Series. The contributors cited in the nomination were lead visual effects supervisor Adam McInnes, second lead visual effects supervisor and visual effects supervisor Angela Barson, lead visual effects producer Lucy Ainsworth-Taylor, CGI supervisor Raf Morant, lead visual effects compositor Henry Badgett, lead matte artist Damian Mace, special effects supervisor Stuart Brisden and special effects supervisor Graham Hills. Critical response: Fire and Blood received positive reviews, and much critical acclaim for the closing scene. Matt Fowler of IGN wrote that Fire and Blood wasn't exactly a powerful roar of an episode, but that book fans would definitely appreciate the small parts of the second book, A Clash of Kings, that got included to help set up Season 2 next year. He rated the episode 8.5 out of 10. Todd Van Der Werf of the AV Club gave it an A, commenting, "The series, especially, has shown that ETA unregistered trademark is willing to stretch some of these emotional or philosophical moments out, to really get the most out of the actors unregistered trademark performances and give them scenes where they can expand their characters beyond her to unregistered trademark S on the page." In a finale that could have felt too scattered we drop in on every major character of the season wo unregistered trademark S still a levia that sense that cooler heads would rather prevent greater war but were thwarted by hotter, younger heads was what united the story. David Sims, also writing for the AV Club, called it a fitting end to the season, leaving absolutely everyone salivating for Season 2. Writing for the Star-Ledger, Jennifer Braun praised the episode for its set dressing and the authenticity of the baby dragons. Hitfix said it wrapped up its terrific first season. "It was damned entertaining along the way, with the finale as possibly the most entertaining so far, and we know that at least one more season is coming. And if the creative team can keep up this level of quality, it's hard to imagine HBO shutting things down anytime soon, even with a budget that only figures to get higher. Dragons aren't cheap, but they're also amazing." References. External links: Fire and Blood at HBO, Fire and Blood at the Internet Movie Database, Fire and Blood at TV.com.